So a very good morning to everyone and welcome to the very first installment of the TradeTrust Tech webinar series. I'm Payan from IMDA and I'll be your host for today. We hope every one of you are doing well, staying safe and healthy. And thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar. This series is jointly organized by IMDA and our partner agency GovTech. So many a times we have received very similar inquiries from different organizations on the different features available in TradeTrust and how to use them. The topics we have prepared in this series are questions we have received quite a few times from different parties, and we hope this sharing session will be able to shed some light and deepen your understanding about TradeTrust. So this is what we have planned out for today. Firstly, we have Sin Yong, who is the Director of Trade Division in IMDA, who's also my boss, to give you an overview of what TradeTrust is, followed by a demo session from my colleague Xu Jing. After which we have a quick Q&A segment before we end off. So these are a few ground rules we hope all attendees will adhere to. Mute your microphone at all times during the presentation. If you have questions, please input them into the Q&A box. If time permits, we may open up questions to the meeting attendees. You may click on the button labeled raise hand if you wish to speak. So if there's any questions that we did not manage to address during the session, you may also write to us at tradetrust@imda.gov.sg. So for the benefit of our industry attendees who are not too familiar about IMDA and our roles, here's a summary of what we do. IMDA is a statutory board in the Singapore government under the Ministry of Communications and Information. As a regulatory body, we oversee and implement policies related to ICT, media, and postal industries in Singapore. We also run the Personal Data Protection and Protection from Online Falsehood and Manipulation Office, which is the POFMA office. In addition to our government role, IMDA is also responsible for driving Singapore's digital transformation through the use of ICM technologies. We work closely with private organizations in various sectors such as manufacturing, trade and logistics, transportation, and many others to spearhead the strategic use and adoption of Infocom technology as a key enabler to enhance Singapore's economic competitiveness. So before I hand over the presentation to Sin Yong, I'd like to show you a video of TradeTrust as it gives a good overview of what TradeTrust is and what it aims to achieve.
International trade is the engine of growth for many economies, binding sellers and buyers from different countries around the world. Over the past decades, cross-border supply chain has become more challenging to manage due to the ever-increasing complexity of the international production and sourcing networks. Modern commerce is no longer an exchange between the buyer and seller, but rather an extended collaboration between critical interdependent partners executed over different geographies, time, and transportation methods. When goods travel across borders, the majority of trade frictions encountered are due to the manual paper-based processes, the complex dealings with different parties across borders, and also the use of different fragmented systems across these parties. The paper-based processes are still practiced today as there is currently no easy way to verify the accuracy and authenticity of the supporting trade documents via digital means. This results in inefficiency and delay as time required to process the paper-based documents for clearance may far exceed the actual time of physical movement of goods. According to the Maersk and IBM research, the cost of processing the trade documents could cost as much as 1/5 of the physical transportation cost. To address these inefficiencies, we are developing TradeTrust, a global interoperability framework and standards to facilitate trusted interoperability of electronic trade documents across different digital solutions and ecosystems. TradeTrust consists of the following components: legal harmonization to ensure legal validity of the digital trade documents are provided for by various countries' jurisdictions. Standards development to promote the use of internationally accepted standards to facilitate the interoperability of digital documents exchanged across different solutions and ecosystems. accreditation structure to provide a set of internationally accepted rules and policies to govern the use of TradeTrust to ensure integrity and consistency of the network, and digital infrastructure to allow any party who is participating in cross-border trade to easily access and integrate their solutions onto the TradeTrust network. These components work in concert to give participants of the network the trust and legal validity assurance of the digital documents that are exchanged. The trust layer will offer a neutral and transparent channel for all trade ecosystem parties to synchronize their activities and information, while giving them the assurance that their data confidentiality is not compromised. This ability will allow trade documents like Bill of Lading to be digitalized and exchanged in a trusted and non-centralized manner. Through TradeTrust, a Circle of Trust network will be created for global trade partners. This will benefit the trade and logistics community through increased efficiencies through certainty, reduced cost of paper documentation, and support of new service offerings through interoperability, visibility, and control. Join TradeTrust and be part of this global trade network.
Okay, thank you. Sin Yong, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first edition of our TradeTrust Tech Seminar. My name is Sin Yong. I'm the Director for Trade under the Sectorial Transformation Group within Singapore Information Media Development Authority, IMDA for short. My role is actually to look at what and how technology can be effectively deployed in contributing towards the digital transformation of Singapore wholesale trade sector to enhance their relevance and competitiveness in the global market. COVID-19 has brought about unprecedented impact to the global and local economy. I think everyone knows about it. To meet business continuity and daily life needs through this challenging period, we have seen a wider embrace for e-commerce and digital tools among businesses and citizens. This shift in mindset and behavior presents an opportunity to drive more widespread and deeper digitalization among individuals and businesses. In trade, these are just some of the top of the mind concerns of businesses around the world, and all are looking to governments to take action. In Singapore, IMDA is not alone in Singapore's trade digitalization efforts. We adopt a whole of government, multi-agencies, and multidisciplinary approach to digitalize trade, both domestically and internationally. However, we need to recognize that this whole of government approach to digitalizing trade within a single jurisdiction is not sufficient. The impact that this new virus has created globally further amplify the extent of interconnectedness of our societies today. Just like how our best scientists are collaborating closely on COVID-19 preventive measures and cures, we need to do the same when it comes to electronic commerce and trade, because ultimately, trade has no geographical boundaries. As such, it is now even more important for international forums, such as the one that we have participated actively, to maintain and promote multilateral dialogues to discuss and exchange views on topics that are mutual interest at various levels, such as policies, technologies, legal framework, and standardization for the benefit of our people. So what has been working in Singapore until today? Specifically in trade, our national single window that we put in place since 1989 had contributed significantly to our economy over the past 30 years. Together with the Electronic Transaction Act that was introduced in 1998 and amendments to align with UNCITRAL's MLEC, which stands for Model Law on Electronic Commerce, in 2010, it was estimated that more than 99% of trade and business documents are now exchanged digitally within Singapore for both B2B and B2G transactions. But a key challenge remains: how can we enable cross-border transaction and exchange of trade documents more seamlessly? So what's next? To elevate paperless trade to the next level, we believe that a better way that is fast, cheap, and easy for thousands of digital silos globally to interoperate is needed. We do this by focusing on the two key factors that resisted trade digitalization since the invention of electronic networks that allow organizations to exchange business documents electronically. These are the inefficient processes and fragmented system, be it electronic or manual. International supply chain today typically involve many parties with sets of documents that are handed over from one actor to another along the value chain. To cater for the different needs and different degree of digital readiness of each of these actors, we need to interoperate not only with digital systems, but also to interoperate between human and machine and between hard copy and digital documents. From past experience of our involvement in numerous trade digitalization projects, we have learned that the solution to cross-border paperless trade is not only a technical one. The solution needs to be an embodiment of business needs, standardization, law, and technology. The set of software components and tools that we build is just a manifestation of this embodiment. TradeTrust is designed for organizations to easily integrate and deploy onto their existing IT infrastructure while extending interoperability beyond one respective digital community. We start looking at the numerous proof of concept out there in the market when we started TradeTrust 2 years ago. And we have distilled our key learnings into 5 key design principles that we believe is the key to interoperability across digital ecosystems. Blockchain is designed for decentralization. As such, we want to leverage on this unique attribute for cross-border trade, which is how businesses trade with each other today. Because we use a blockchain, a public blockchain, it is then a must that we keep all data off-chain. Even the slightest metadata that allow anyone to infer intelligence will not work. As our focus is on document level, we do not prescribe how the document within a TradeTrust file should be formatted. This is also to cater for legacy systems where data is exchanged using traditional EDI standards. To facilitate adoption, we are licensing TradeTrust under open source license. MLETR compliant is another important design principle. This will allow electronic document of title to be issued and transacted in a peer-to-peer manner seamlessly across the different digital silos. TradeTrust is not just for Singapore. Over the past 2 years, we have been working closely with international organizations by contributing what we have built to the global community. We see this as a public good that government should invest that will enhance our businesses' ability to generate and capture value. We believe that the role of government is to invest in infrastructure building, including working with various international organizations in establishing global standards. Businesses can then focus their limited resources on generating business values for their customers. This is how TradeTrust looks like from the technical perspective. Its modular design will ensure minimum coupling and provide us the flexibility to cater for changes in technology in the future. We have since completed version 3 of our prototype and have demonstrated successfully its ability to transfer ownership of an electronic transferable record or digital document of title between counterparties in Singapore and Rotterdam over a public Ethereum blockchain. For the very first time, we are witnessing the ability to create an electronic title document on one platform and allow it to be transacted seamlessly in a peer-to-peer manner across different platforms throughout its life cycle. This is an illustration of how interoperability can be achieved with TradeTrust. In this example, you can see an invoice originated from a closed-loop blockchain ecosystem can be seamlessly shared with a legacy non-blockchain platform of a bank, and at the same time, this same invoice can be verified and consumed by a government-run platform. Our approach is different from the traditional way of exchanging data by using agreed data format via a secure channel. Instead of trusting the channel through which data is received, we allow recipients of data the ability to validate its authenticity and integrity via a public blockchain network. A negotiable instrument is a special class of trade documents that gives an owner the right to demand for performance of obligation on demand. Such documents have been used extensively in international trade. The Bill of Lading in maritime trade is a very good example. This is the class of document that has resisted digitalization even until today. In this figure, it is important that you see two dimensions at play here. The BL data being dealt with on the outer dotted ring, where TradeTrust file is transported via conventional means, such as email or through a portal, or on the extreme case, even a USB thumb drive. The inside area shows the title information being tracked with the distributed ledger, in this case, a public blockchain. It is worthwhile to note that TradeTrust is flexible enough to support situations where some participants, such as government authorities like customs, do not require the ability to affect the title, but only need to read and verify the BL data, all this while using the same very same file that are exchanged by the different actors along the supply chain. Trade digitalization is a truly global affair, spanning across authorities, associations, and businesses. Since its inception 2 years ago, our approach to solving the paperless trade problem had garnered interest from many parts of the world. In January this year at Davos, a multilateral MOI was inked, comprising multinationals from both the East and the West to further our effort in digitalizing trade. Our work is currently published under open source license at GitHub. We encourage any interested party to explore and make use of it if it is of value to you. We are now reaching out to the global community to walk the journey with us. Thank you. And I hand over the presentation to Su Jing.
Thank you, Sin Yong, for his insightful sharing. Good morning, everyone. My name is Su Jing. I'm taking care of product developments for TradeTrust. In today's webinar, we will cover the following topics. We classify documents into two main categories, verifiable documents and transferable documents. We'll be doing a short demonstration on dealing with verifiable documents, a feature we call selective disclosure, title transfer, document retrieval via QR code. So what exactly are verifiable documents? A verifiable document is also known as a non-transferable document. It is not used to transfer title. It is a document which we can verify its authenticity and source. Examples of verifiable documents are sales invoices, certificates, and permits. And what are transferable documents? A transferable document deals with title. It confers the rights to the possession of the asset. Thus, presenting the document entitles the title holder to claim possession of the asset. Examples of transferable documents are cash checks, negotiable bills of lading. To ensure maximum bandwidth for the demo, I will turn off my video. So now we will proceed with our demonstration for verifiable documents. In this demonstration, we'll be using COO, also known as Certificate of Origin. This COO has been issued and published in the TradeTrust network. A target hash is created where we wrap the document, and this target hash will be published into the TradeTrust network. I will verify this COO in the TradeTrust website. There are 3 verification statuses to prove that this COO has been verified successfully. We can see that this document is not being tampered with. The document has been issued in the TradeTrust network, as well as the document issuer has been identified. With these 3 verification statuses, we prove that the document's authenticity and source have been verified. Let's say there's malicious hacking, and the document has been tampered with. Let me first change the content of the .tt file. So in here, I will just add another character, few more characters, and save it. And we'll drag the same document back into TradeTrust. As you can see, TradeTrust will now throw an error to show that the document is no longer valid. Next, we will demonstrate another feature of TradeTrust. It is selective disclosure. With this feature, a party can select information to hide such that the next party receiving this TradeTrust asset will not be able to see the hidden information, but in such a way that it will not compromise the integrity of the file. In other words, the document's authenticity and source will remain uncompromised. Let me first open up the source code of this COO. I will copy out the target hash of the file onto a notepad. I will drag the .tt file into our TradeTrust website. Next, I will enable the privacy filter. We will remove the producer information, and I will download the TradeTrust asset again. So this is the file that I have just downloaded. I will verify the downloaded file again. As you can see, the producer information is no longer available. And let me open up the source code of this file. And copy out the target hash. As you can see, both the target hash are the same. The integrity of the document is not compromised even after we have performed selective disclosure. This concludes the demonstration for selective disclosure. We will now demonstrate title transfer. With the paper media, we are all restricted to the endorsement chain being on the BL together with the BL data. With the electronic media, we are able to deal with them separately. And indeed, that's what we do in TradeTrust. Bearing in mind that we are dealing with the title, ownership, and BL data separately, the figure shows 2 dimensions at play. The BL data is being dealt with on the outside dotted ring, where the TT file is transported via conventional means such as email or portal. The inside area shows the title ownership information being dealt with in the distributed ledger. It is worthwhile to note that TradeTrust is flexible enough to support situations where some participants, such as the government authorities, do not require the ability to affect the title, but only need to read and verify the BL data, all while using the very same .tt file. It is important for you to note that there are two crucial fields that we use in our reference implementation. They are beneficiary and holder. So for beneficiary is the party who owns the legal assets such as title. As for holder, we all know in the physical world, an original paper print of the physical title would be held by various parties along the value chain. We term them as holders. In this documentary trade flow, the contract of sale is agreed between the seller and buyer. The buyer will then arrange his desired payment method with the bank, in which the issuing bank will send the document collection or letter of credit to the advising bank. The advising bank will then inform the seller so that the seller can inform the carrier to proceed with the shipment. So at step 4, the carrier will issue the bill of lading. The seller will then present the documents to the negotiating bank. After due checking, the negotiating bank will forward the documents to the issuing bank. The issuing bank will obtain the payment instructions from the buyer and releases the documents to the buyer. The buyer will then surrender the BL to the carrier in order to collect the cargo. For today's demo, we'll be focusing on BL that is used for presentation purposes. There are two types of BL that we are demonstrating. They are blank endorsed BL and consigned BL. In my demo, this is for the blank endorsed BL. This is the first type of BL that we are going to demo. So you can see that both the holder and beneficiary will change at the same time as you go through the process. Right now, I am the seller. I have received my BL in an email from the carrier. So I will drag and drop the .tt file into TradeTrust website. So you can see that I am the seller by checking the MetaMask wallet. Now I'm preparing to present the documents to the negotiating bank, as seen here. At step 5, I'm attaching all the documents in my email to the negotiating bank, and I'll need to endorse the BL to the negotiating bank by updating the holder and beneficiary. So at here, I will need to enter the negotiating bank wallet ID. I will click on to endorse button. As you can see, negotiating bank is now both the beneficiary and holder. So now I'm at step 6. I'm now the negotiating bank. I have received my BL in an email from the seller. I'll be checking all the documents before forwarding the documents to the issuing bank. I'm attaching all the documents in my email to the issuing bank, and I will need to endorse the BL to the issuing bank by updating the holder and beneficiary. So now I'll drag and drop the .tt file that I have received from the negotiating bank. From the seller. I just need to ensure the wallet ID belongs to negotiating bank, connect the wallet, endorse the change of beneficiary, and change it to issuing bank. And I'll click endorse. As you can see, issuing bank is now both the beneficiary and holder. So now I am the issuing bank. I have received my BL in an email from the negotiating bank. I've obtained the payment instructions from the buyer. I'll be checking all the documents before releasing the documents to the buyer. I'm attaching all the documents in my email to the buyer, and I'll need to endorse the BL to the buyer by updating the holder and beneficiary. So here, I just need to ensure my Meta wallet belongs to the issuing bank. And I'll endorse change of beneficiary to the buyer. I'll click endorse button. As you can see, now buyer is both the beneficiary and holder. And now we are at step 8, where I am the buyer. I have received my BL in my email from the issuing bank. I will surrender the BL to the carrier in order to collect the cargo. So at here, I just need to ensure I switch my account to the buyer. Drag and drop the .tt file that I received from the issuing bank. I do a connect wallet and I surrender the document. Click onto the surrender document button. As you can see, the BL is now successfully surrendered. So the second BL that we will be demonstrating will be the consigned BL. The BL is consigned to the buyer. The banks will only check the documents, and that's why only the holder field changes. Right now, I am the seller. I have received my BL in an email from the carrier. I'm preparing to present the documents to the negotiating bank. I'm attaching all the documents in my email to the negotiating bank, but I will need to transfer the holdership of the BL to the negotiating bank by updating the holder. So this is the BL that I have received. I will drag and drop the .tt file. So you can see that the beneficiary is buyer, the holder is seller. Just need to ensure that my wallet is seller. Connect the wallet and I'm able to transfer the holdership. So in here, I will enter the wallet for negotiating bank and click transfer. As you can see, let me drag the file again. Yeah, as you can see now, the negotiating bank has been updated as the holder. And now I am at step 6, where I am the negotiating bank. I have received my BL in an email from the seller. I'll be checking all the documents before forwarding the documents to the issuing bank. And I'll be attaching all the documents in my email to the issuing bank, but I'll need to transfer the holder of the BL to the issuing bank. So right here, I need to change my account to the negotiating bank. Drag and drop the .tt file. Connect my wallet and do a transfer of holdership from the negotiating bank to the issuing bank. and click transfer. As you can see, the issuing bank is now the holder. So now we are at step 7, where I am the issuing bank. I have received my BL in an email from the negotiating bank. I've obtained the payment instructions from the buyer, and I'll be checking all the documents before I releases the documents to the buyer. And I'll need to transfer the holder of the BL to the buyer bank by updating the holder. So right here, I will drag and drop the .tt file into TradeTrust website. Connect my wallet and then do a transfer holdership from issuing bank to buyer. As you can see, now buyer is the holder. So now I'm at step 8, where I am the buyer. I have received my BL in an email from the issuing bank. I will surrender the BL to the carrier in order to collect my cargo. So right here, I will drag the .tt file to TradeTrust website, connect my wallet, and I will click on to surrender document button. The BL has been successfully surrendered. This concludes the demonstration for our consigned BL. So in my demo, I use email to transport BL. However, we have another way of transporting BL, which is using the QR code. So here I will drag a BL that has a QR code embedded inside. So I would like you all to actually use your QR code scanner and scan the QR code that is shown in the screen. You will be able to view the TT file in your device. So I give you a few more minutes to try out this QR code, scan it with your handphone or laptop. You'll be able to view this VL on your devices. So in future, it is possible for people to even WhatsApp the .tt file to one another. So I have completed the short demonstration for TradeTrust. The following websites will be useful to get started before attending the technical sessions. Let me hand over to my colleague Pei Yan. Pei Yan, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for the interesting sharing. So now we are at the Q&A section. We have some interesting questions.
Integrity and consistency.
Okay, can I invite the panelists to answer one of the questions here? How does TradeTrust verify identity of title holder? Is there an IAM layer or support for DIDs?
Hello, morning. So Tony, for this case, right, if you were to take a look at one of the BL or any of the document, you can see at the top left-hand corner, there's actually a domain name associated with the issuer. So what you can do is that you can head on to TradeTrust.io, and then there's actually a demo document by the site, the blue one. Just drag the blue one inside, you can see that it comes from a specific domain name. So we do not have any proprietary IAM layer, or we are not connecting to DID as of the moment, right? Because what we intend for the first cut of this is that we want people to have something that is recognizable, right? DID at the moment, it's great for machine, it is great for anonymous identity, but it does not serve well as something that connects the decentralized world to the centralized world. For this, we are using the domain name right now, all right? So for Zaini, the next question you asked, do you provide a link to the test document so that we could perform the demo ourselves, which gives you a better understanding of the TradeTrust framework? Yes. All right, so if you head over to TradeTrust.io, you can actually see a demonstration of the verifiable document, right? Right now, there is no samples of the transferable record just yet. And even if we do, you are not able to perform those actions unless you are listed as either the beneficiary or holder. So if you prefer to try out the transferable record, we actually recommend you to go to the documentation or head over to the third workshop of this series, which we actually teach you how to create the transferable record. For the verifiable document is already there. Just head over, you see a blue icon, just drag it into the Dropbox and you can see the demonstration. Okay. The next question, is this solution live or only available in testnet? This solution is live. The demonstration was conducted on the Robson network, but if this thing, you want to run it on the main Ethereum network, you simply switch the network to the main Ethereum network and it will work. The only difference is that the viewer, right, the one that you saw Su Jing manipulating in, right, for the Robson network, we are using the domain dev.tradetrust.io. For the mainnet one, we are using TradeTrust.io itself. That's the only difference, right? And of course, in the testnet, you don't incur ethers when you actually do the transfer or creation of the document. In the mainnet, you do, right? The next question, the demo mentions or show email multiple times. Can email be avoided due to security reasons? Yes. So after your question, actually, Susan show the demonstration using QR code. So there's actually no restrictions of what medium you should be using. If you want to be really secured, you can even put it onto a thumb drive and walk over to someone else or mail it over to someone else. But that defeats the entire purpose of it being digital in the first place, right? So we don't prescribe the medium. The medium is really up to you, right? If you want to do computer to computer specific proprietary kind of connection, that's possible as well. We don't restrict that. The next one on Tony, what is the average cost of transfer of ownership? So I'll just talk about the cost structure as a whole. So the cost structure of creating a document ranges about 50 cents. The cost structure of transferring ownership, both the ownership costs roughly about 70 cents to $1 or so. If you are talking about ethers, okay? Yep. Next one, also the demo use MetaMask wallet. This is too technical and corporate. Can that be extracted and make end user friendly? Definitely. So if you take a look at the slides that Sing Yong has shown, in the first layer, that at the UI UX layer, we don't intend to create a full suite of solution for end user. What we intend to do is actually to provide the API layer, right, that different solution provider, the SaaS or PaaS software providers can actually build upon it. So what we foresee in the future is that the bank user, the corporate user, are not dealing with TradeTrust as in logging into TradeTrust.io to manipulate all this action manually, right? All they have to do is to use whatever systems that they are using, right, and click on whatever form or processes that their software are already doing. And instead of it, at the end printing out BL or, calling for a delivery, what we are doing is that it connects to the blockchain layer and actually perform those transactions live, right? So we don't intend for people to use our UI directly. But that said, we actually have a set of tools under Creator. If you visit Creator, creator.tradetrust.io, you'll see actually a tool that allows people to very easily create both types of documents. Yeah. So for James, does another panelist want to talk about the hurdles of getting users to adopt TradeTrust?
Yeah, can I invite Sin Yong to answer that?
May I know which questions specifically?
So it's from James Chan. His question is,
Okay.
what are the hurdles of getting users to adopt TradeTrust?
Actually, I'm not sure what do you mean by hurdle users. Generally, there are two different type of user from IMDA's or from TradeTrust perspective. The platform that incorporate TradeTrust functionality onto their application, the other class will be the end user, the business user. Actually, as Raymond already highlighted, that the TradeTrust.io website that you see today is just a sample demonstration of for us to actually demonstrate the capability of TradeTrust. Actually, the end business user shouldn't be manipulating TradeTrust.io. That is also the reason why we organizing this series of tech webinar targeted at developers like yourself and platform developers like yourself, so that you can actually build this capability onto your own platform. So then the hurdles to end users adoption, that means end business users adoption, will very much depending on how user friendly and what is the value that this end user, end business user see on in your platform. I hope that actually answer James' question.
Okay, I think we are actually running short of time. Maybe we'll take one more question. I'll just read off from the Q&A. So to integrate with TradeTrust to facilitate a use case where payment is made to the seller of goods upon surrender of bill of lading, what are the prerequisites? The carrier must support an electronic bill of lading. If so, do all major carriers support EBL? Maybe Sin Yong?
Currently, major carrier, although actively participated in many EBL projects, so far as we know, none of the carrier actually adopted EBL in a massive scale. There are a few reasons for this. Number one, today the existing solution, EBL solution in the market, they are based on contract law, which means that anyone that want to make use of EBL to transact with one another need to be a party of that contract. So that is the reason why you see for TradeTrust, the legal harmonization is a key component within this framework. I'm sure you know that by second half of next year, Singapore or IMDA, we will be updating our Electronic Transaction Act to support digital negotiable instrument in our statute law. And this is also one of the major challenges why today you see the adoption level of EBL solution out there is very low. So by changing the law together with enabling the platform providers or even businesses to easily integrate or make use of a class of tools that allow them to transact negotiable title electronically, that we hope will see a much wider industry adoption.
Okay, I think we are slightly overrun now. Any questions you have that we did not manage to answer in this session, do write to us to our TradeTrust email. We'll answer to your questions using email. Okay, by the way, the other panelist who joined us to answer some of the early questions is Raymond from GovTech. So he and his team are the actual developers who developed the TradeTrust software prototype. So I'd like to highlight that this webinar series actually consists of 6 webinars running weekly every Wednesday from this week till 19th of August. So do remember to join us. We will cover many different topics from next week onwards. So next week will be on creation of verifiable documents. We hope all of you is able to join us. So before we end off, we have a link to the feedback form, which we'll send to all attendees here today. Do help us fill this up so that we can better prepare contents that are relevant and useful to you next time. So with this, we hope to see you next week, right? Okay, thank you everyone.